Welcome to the Legends Behind the Craft podcast, where we feature top leaders in the wine and craft beverage industry with your host, Drew Hendricks. Now, let's get started with the show.
Drew Thomas Hendricks here. I'm the host of the Legends Behind the Craft podcast. On this show, we talk with leaders in the wine and craft beverage industry. Today's show, it's sponsored by Barrels Ahead. At Barrels Ahead, we work with you to implement a one-of-a-kind marketing strategy, one that highlights your authenticity, tells your story, and connects you with your ideal customers. In short, we help wineries and craft beverage producers unlock their story to unleash their revenue. Go to barrelsahead.com today to learn more. Bianca Harmon, our DTC strategist at Barrels Ahead, is joining us again today. How's it going, Bianca?
It's going good, Drew. Looking forward to talking to Diana today.
Yes. I am super excited to talk with Diana Hawkins. Diana is the owner and general manager of Pope Valley Winery. Welcome to the show, Diana.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. A little bit about me is we're a small family winery in the northeast corner of Napa, about as far north as you can get, kind of a hillside valley. I am third generation from here in Pope Valley and from Napa. So thank you again for having me.
Oh, so Pope Valley. So it's the, kind of the unknown area of Napa.
It is. We call it Napa's last frontier because there is pretty much just vineyard and farmland, a few houses, but is kind of Napa's last undeveloped area. And we're actually a hillside valley, nestled hillside valley. So we're higher elevation than Salina Valley floor, but lower than Howell Mountain. So you kind of go up Howell Mountain and then drop down into like this secret little hidden valley.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Now, how many wineries are in the Pope Valley area?
We are one of the original wineries. We're actually one of the oldest in Napa, dating back to 1897. Mm-hmm. There are a few wineries and vineyards. So there's vineyards that have labels but don't actually produce their wine here. So there's about 3, I want to say, in Pope Valley. When you get into Childs Valley, you get a few more, such as Russ Ridge, Nicolini, Green and Red, and Maxville. Mm-hmm. We are one of the only ones with an open tasting room.
Right.
Yeah.
And third gen.
Good. I was just going to say, so how do you get people out there then? You know, what is the secret to getting people to come out to Pope Valley? We're still working on that, but consistency, a lot of social media, especially for family wineries where our marketing budget's a lot smaller. It's a lot of creativity. So doing events that are different and finding our place within the wine industry, I say, because Napa Valley has so many amazing experiences. It's kind of, how does this family fit in? And we're kind of, people get to bring picnics here. We have hiking trails. We do horseback riding. We do in-depth vineyard tours. And we kind of have more of that old school feel. So when you think of Napa, how it all started, you get to come here and experience that and really see the history. We have the original 3-story gravity flow winery on site, along with the farmhouse, the original homestead, and an intact blacksmith shop. So really offering that unique look back at how Napa all started.
Oh, that's amazing. So you're in the old fermentation room, which is in the second story.
Yeah. So we're in the second story right now, and this is where they would bring all the grapes it was all gravity flow. So they would go up to the very third story, the original scale and crush pad. They would crush all the grapes, go down a chute to big redwood tanks, and it would ferment here. We still do small lot fermentation up here, just because being a natural winery built into the hillside, getting through fermentation with the warmer temperatures, we utilize what we have, and it's naturally warmer up here. So we'll bring small vats and do like just small fermentation up here as well.
That's amazing. Now, did you grow up at this winery?
My family purchased the winery in the late 90s, but I did grow up in Pope Valley, and I actually was here quite a bit as a little girl. I remember running through the caves down below us. I used to think that all the sparkles on the wall were fairies, when in reality they're slugs, but it's really great as a 5-year-old me. And I remember being here for harvest and functions. And then I grew up in high school working here. So the one thing I will say is it's very unique to have a winery and work from the bottom up. Like as a teenager, I remember doing pump overs, hauling grapes here. Yeah. I grew up on the development side. So I grew up on a tractor, ripping and disking and doing that farming aspect of job sites. and then even being on the production side. I worked in the tasting room in college, and I actually launched our wine club here when I was right out of college. So
that's amazing. So from growing up, how have you seen this winery evolve from before your family owned it to now?
Well, it was barely operational before my family owned it. They were just doing enough wine to keep their bond open. It was kind of like a ghost winery. And then when my family, my dad and my uncles bought it with some partners, and it was kind of what I call the farmer mentality: grow it, crush it, make it wine, and people will come. Whereas when my brother came on board, we really wanted to focus on the wine and our passion for making amazing boutique wine that has depth and dimension, and really highlighting the terroir here in Pope Valley because it is so unique, and even other areas. Because as a vineyard management company as well, we get to source from little small vineyards that maybe aren't well known, but they're like these hidden gems that you get to really pick and highlight. So that was kind of our take on it, going from that farming aspect of, hey, let's just grow the grapes and we'll make wine, to really focusing on the wine itself in conjunction with the farming.
Oh, yeah. So to those people that may not be familiar with the Pope Valley terroir, what sets Pope Valley apart?
We are a higher elevation than the valley floor, but we also have the hottest summers and the coldest winters and the biggest temperature fluctuations. So we get super hot during the days. Like we'll easily hit triple digits here today, maybe even 108. But then we'll drop really cold at night. So you get that big temperature flux. Throughout Pope Valley, there's a lot of different soil types, but we do have heavier soil types, a lot of clay in certain areas. We are naturally a red growing region. We do grow Sauvignon Blanc really, really well. But Chardonnays, I still say this is not the area to grow them. A few people have tried. Chenin Blanc also does really well here, but there's, I think, 1 or 2 small vineyards of it still left. So, well, that's good. You're not trying to push something that doesn't go exactly well. There's that tends to be a problem with wineries and areas. They feel like they have to grow this or do this, and it's like, why? Just do what you're good at. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we try to do, is grow what we know. We're not going to fight Mother Nature. We're going to amplify it and grow what grows well. This last year, we actually did a really fun project with our R&D department. We pulled out 2 of our rows, and we're doing a blending block with different heat tolerant and drought resistant varietals to see what grows the best in this region. And kind of what blends we can come from it. And rather than just going and saying, we're going to go with this varietal, we're going to take our time and really spend the money on the R&D to see what's going to work for us in the marketplace too. So
that's smart. I mean, it's so smart to take that step back a little bit sometimes and just see, especially, with the evolving climates and different droughts. It's what worked 40 years ago may not work anymore.
Yes.
And so you talk about, you hinted at something, and I want to jump right to that. You talk about the Vineyard Management Company. Yeah. And in the pre-show, we were talking about how you're actually pretty much vertically integrated, where you're also running a vineyard management company and a trucking company, I believe. Yeah, we have a general engineering contracting company that does heavy development, including trucking. So we do haul grapes as well. We have a Class A commercial division. We do everything from really large rock projects for well-known vineyards, such as up on Atlas Peak and areas like that, where we bring the rock out of the ground through blasting or hammering with large-scale excavators and big, dozers and such, and crush the rock. We also farm. So we have the vineyard management, especially out here in Pope Valley, where we're a little bit farther off the beaten path. It allows us to kind of contiguously farm areas next to us and know this area. We also farm up on Atlas Peak and a few other places in Napa. So the vineyard management was born out of necessity. Being out here, we wanted to really control all aspects of our wine and the wine coming here to the winery. And with 65 acres planted on our main ranch, our Eakle Ranch, how do we have that consistency in labor? And what you put into the vineyard is what you're going to get out in the bottle. It all starts there. So by creating our own vineyard management company, we have that control to really have great labor forces. And then we've been able to extend that throughout the valley and even into Napa and Sonoma. And then the general engineering contractors, how it all started. That was what my dad and my uncles, they started ripping and building ponds and reservoirs in the Canaris region, drain line, concrete. We do engineered projects. We work with a lot of engineers throughout the valley doing reservoirs, concrete, pads.
just pretty much everything that is needed from the commercial aspect, not just the agricultural aspect, to go into winemaking, wineries, and vineyard development. And with the vineyard management, it's just a one-stop shop. So when our clients call us, just like we like having one person to go to, they get a full team to do everything. So there's not time wasted. They're not having to call a building contractor. We can do your remodels all the way through from beginning to end, along with, doing your vineyard work or your heavy development. And so many have overlaps within this industry. It's not just all this little piece of ag. It spills into commercial as well.
Sure. That is such a powerful combination for
it is.
I mean, you talk about a family and winery, but then you've really got all the stuff right there in-house to be able to pretty much do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier being off the beaten path and a small winery. So, when we're slow, sometimes like during COVID, we ended up re-pouring part of our crush pad because we had the concrete guys here and we're like, hey, we have time. Let's knock this out. So for us as a small family winery, it really does make us dynamic.
Oh yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about the marketing of your winery. You talk about the experiences and especially over the last 10 years with the just the larger and larger wineries keep acquiring other wineries, and it's become a very, especially in the Napa area, very corporate conglomeration.
Yeah, it has
a better word.
And there's so many wineries, and as a family winery on a small budget, it does make you get a little creative. Makes you go a little grassroots. So we do focus a lot on wine club members. They're our biggest cheerleaders, our brand ambassadors. We have a point system through our website, so people can, when they refer people, they get points back to their accounts and stuff. So that's been huge. Also, taking the winery up. I feel like some small wineries, it's very hard to invest in the technology, to invest in the software you need, because let's face it, it all costs money. Business to business, all of those things cost money. But I think that's one thing I haven't shied away from. And one way is investing maybe less in print ads. And I still think they're valuable and I still like them. But for our size, we switched to like Talk for our reservation platform. Okay. So we have a larger marketing pool because they market on behalf of us as well. So you get outreach from that. Having somebody to really solidify your social media platforms, and really you could do everything yourself, but it's at what cost and where are you going to be able, how many markets are you going to be able to reach?
Sure. For social media, what advice would you have for other small wineries? Because I talked to a bunch and they all kind of struggle with finding the right tools. They know they're supposed to post, but they don't post. And then they feel bad about not posting, so they don't post anymore. And when we tell them, just post.
So it's just posting and consistency and making your message and then pulling in resources, because it's a lot to make that consistency of where your posts are, and to make sure you're getting your value out of it. Because you want to reach these customers. You don't want to flood them with just ads. So many people want to post just like, we have a case sale, but people genuinely want to know what it's like, especially for a small family winery. Like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? Are you out there in the field crushing, like when you're having blending? And I am not the best at it. That is one reason we do have a marketing. We outsource some of our marketing. It's about a 70-30 split. So I do about 30% of the posting and they do about 70% of the content and posting for us, which allowed me to save on my budgeting, but still allowed me to maintain consistency and the marketing plan that I needed, where the other 30% I get to do kind of the insight and the stuff that only comes from me to do our brand. So
I love that you know how important it is to have a marketing agency or have somebody helping you task and do these, because it's a lot. It is a lot for one person to do. We had a client recently ask, I haven't posted in a while. What should I do for my first post? And it's like, just post, just get something out there,
And you can see, because I only use that model for the winery. For our other businesses, it's a one-stop shop. I do all the social media because it's a little bit different dynamic, right?
Sure.
And we're more of a client base. We work word of mouth and one-on-one clients because it is a specialized industry. But you can see like my consistency on posting is not the best. And it's something I'm working on. But with the wine industry, especially with it being so large and so competitive with so many wineries, a lot of it's just getting people to know you're there. So finding what your demographic is, which is hard because we have such a broad demographic here, of really honing in on who it is who wants to come to our winery. Because we are unique. We're a little bit more rustic than some of your posh Napa wineries, and that's fine. I feel like there's room for all the experiences.
Oh yeah. And I think a lot of people miss the wineries that were there back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
I know I do.
We tell people it's a little bit more relaxed. You get to come, have a friendly conversation. I tell people they get to ask whatever question they want. Like, we don't have a script here. I try to train all our staff to know all about the wines and the winery and its history as well. But there's never any bad question. Not everybody knows about wine. Don't feel like you can't like something or you can't ask something about it.
That makes a lot of sense. So you were talking about the wine club and the importance of setting it up and investing in the technology. Yeah. And not a lot of wineries, at least they're more and more, and depends on the region. I know down by us in Temecula, there's a lot of a point system and all that. But talk to me about that and how that's added benefit to your group.
So I started our wine club back in the early 2000s, right out of college, and we literally had about 10 members. We still have at least 50% of those members today, so that's a good thing. Our longevity is really great. I started it on a Microsoft Access database. So It was before a lot of this stuff, before we had reliable internet out here, believe it or not. So with internet, it is amazing. We did switch to an internet-based system. We use Wine Direct. There's a couple of really great platforms. That was just kind of one we landed on for us. Wine Club, there's been a real market shift for wine club members wanting to customize, but customization is very time consuming. And when you're dealing with small wineries, possibly limited SKUs and products, you have to be really careful. So that is one thing that the software has allowed us to do, is it has allowed it to make it streamless in customizing and allowing different customizable clubs, whether some are fully customizable, some are not. It just depends which club level you're in. It's also what I call, you want to remove as many barriers for your customer to purchase as possible. Because I know I personally am an online shopper, and if I have to go and dig through my purse to find my wallet, to put in the code or do more work than I have to, I'm one of those, I'm the customer that's like, I'm going to go to a different website. It's bad, I know, but I'm
the same way. I usually end up leaving it in my cart and never end up purchasing.
So that's where this software helps. Because we're working with a small staff, it has automated emails as well. So abandoned cart emails that go out. So I don't actually have to have someone sit there and look for your abandoned cart, which some people say, oh, that seems like a lot for a small family winery, but you underestimate how many of these tools can be set up and will actually save you money and increase your sales. That's
a great piece of advice. I can't tell you how many Wine Direct sites I've gone into where the people haven't even activated all those automated emails. It's such an easy win.
And then learning from your customers. Because we had one automated email that was set up kind of weird and it was kind of confusing. So we deactivated it to reword it, because, just listen to your customers and not be afraid to change things. My uncles were like, we're farmers, this is what we do. And I'm like, well, times change. As long as we stay true to our brand and what is at the heart and soul of our winery, we can change with technology and time. And we have a little bit for everything, because you still have your demographic that would rather pick up a phone and call you. And so we're always here to talk to them and place their orders, one-on-one with them, whether it's on the phone, over emails, or in person. So
I love that. I feel like that's so huge, because part of Napa these days is they're so stuck in their ways, right? They're not willing to change with the times. And it's I try to tell wineries all the time, times are changing. You have to get into this technological side of things, or you're going to get left behind. I know you think you won't, but you won't. There's a whole new generation of people, wine buyers, tasters, drinkers. And if you're not with it, you won't last. You're not going to be able to be found.
And that's the presence. So, and it is hard because things do add up. So it's picking and choosing for your model as a small winery what is the basis for your customers? And we do have a fairly millennial customer base as well. People like to come and unplug when they're here and see the history and really have good wine. We have a fun vibe. They get to go out and play bocce, cornhole. You can bring a picnic, and it's just a really fun thing to do that some of the wineries, I feel like it's kind of a Sonoma vibe in Napa. Wow. There's that more relaxed atmosphere, and you just don't get the history like this. So being able to see and feel and how the winery all started, not behind all the glass and the polished steel, just that little raw kind of grittiness. And that's our vibe. So are you
doing tours that are a part of your tasting?
So we do not separate. If you get a tasting, you get a tour, because to me, that is what makes this winery. When you drive up, you see this big barn and it's beautiful, but until you walk behind the cellar doors, you don't realize, you just walk into these old 100-year-old hand-hewn redwood beams that were all the original beams from the Oat Hill Quicksilver mine, and just the natural stone walls with the water seeping in. And to know that that's where wine was made 100 years ago in the same, there's new technology to it. Don't get me wrong. We actually have power now, but, it's just being able to see and feel that that's that history and that wine. And there's still nothing like walking in a cellar and that smell you get and just that coolness. There's nothing that replaces that. So.
Sure. On the, so you're about 22 years in now to running this winery. grown considerably. Now, I always like to ask this: if you go back, is there anything you would have done differently?
There's always stuff you could do differently, but some of it, I always think there's a time and a season and a change. I think we still would have ended up here, but maybe doing things a little bit sooner, embracing the technology sooner. We were lucky enough to hire a consulting winemaker rather than trying to make having a bigger, more robust winemaking team rather than trying to do it all ourselves. But for us, it's all of our companies have grown, and they've grown with us as my brother and I have grown up in the industry and then ultimately taken over all the companies. So you just learn a lot, and don't be afraid to learn. You're going to make mistakes, but learning from all those mistakes and knowing when to change.
It's funny. I hear that quite a bit. Everybody's like, I might have done it sooner, but you do it sooner based on the success you saw. And if you had done it sooner, you might not have had the same success because all the other ducks might not have been in the row. And the experience might have been there to support that.
Yeah.
So that's always a challenging one. It is. I don't think I've ever, I think most of the time when I hear people talk about that, they talk about they may have expanded too quickly. They may have gone into too many markets. And that one seems a little bit more of a, you can look back in hindsight and wonder, but I think your growth was probably exactly what it should have been.
Yeah, I think our growth was right. We went from, part of us was just coming to a family consensus as well. Originally, we were family owned with a number of partners, and it wasn't until 2017 when my brother and I took the leap and bought out all our partners. So it's just us and my father now, which does, when you have a lot of different people's input, sometimes it is easier to bring it back to the core that wants to keep going in the same vision.
And that's another question, or another question I love to ask with families that work tightly together. What advice do you have to keep the peace and to keep things moving forward?
It's always, you're never going to have the same opinion. So it's always learning to agree to disagree. And then always remembering that it's still a business and you're still a family, which is hard and it's never easy. I'm lucky. My brother and I work in all three companies together, and we have our moments where we disagree on things. Sometimes he's right. Sometimes I'm right. Sometimes neither of us are right. So it's just always remembering that at the end of the day, you're still family and you still have to work together, and respect. It's a big, anybody you work with, it's a respect thing, knowing that you're all different people and you all have different ideas. We're lucky because we kind of tackle two different things. I handle more of the marketing and business and paperwork and the event planning, and he's always taken on more of the production role, handling the winemaking, the vineyards per se, whereas I'm more of the technical side, like the day-to-day paperwork and stuff like that.
And that's a tremendous talent, because you're doing a hospitality business, yet you're also running two business to business businesses that are servicing very different clientele. How did it work?
What was that? Sorry.
How do you juggle the kind of the B2C versus the B2B parts of your business?
It's sometimes it can be tricky because you're jumping from different rules. Again, for us, it's been really great because we do have technology. So I can remote everything we have. I can work from home. I can work from different offices. And a lot of the same things, how you would treat your clients and business to business versus business to customer are the same. You still want to give them the same services. Maybe it's hospitality for wine, but my vineyard management company, our services are still the same idea. We want our customer to succeed. Mm-hmm. We want to make their job of growing the fruit as easy as possible. We want to help them, whether it's with their quality, their financial, or all of the above, to make sure that their experience is seamless. We don't want them to have to, that's kind of our model, is we provide just that level of customer service. And then in construction, it's the same thing, where it's the honesty, the dependability, the integrity, knowing like, maybe I could make this project 5 times as expensive, but I'm not going to, because my best interest is my client. Yeah. I'm going to do a great job, make sure that their needs are met. Maybe they, and work with the engineers to make the experience as positive as possible.
I love that. I love that explanation. And it's something that's really kind of near and dear to our hearts. And that too often you think of business to business as more of anonymous because businesses are dealing with businesses. But at its core, there's humans. You're dealing with human to human, whether it's a consumer in your tasting room or it's the person purchasing whatever construction project they're doing. And you treat that person that way. So when you
get different levels of customers, just like in wine, you have the wine connoisseur who knows exactly what they like and what they don't like. Whereas you have people new to the wine industry who are just learning what types of wine they like and they want to explore, and you want to help them grow their palate and their wine experience. With vineyard management and even construction, it's the same thing. You have people who have been doing this for years and they know exactly what they need from you for a project, and you can provide that. You have some who still have questions and need more help guiding them on what they're trying to accomplish and the best way to get there. So just figuring out what your clients' needs are, just like your customers.
There's some great insight there. Now, finding these clients in the vineyard management, is it mostly referral, or how do you go about finding new wineries?
For us, it's mostly about referral. We do a lot just because we're in this area. We are still relatively new to the vineyard management. We established in 2017. So we're still gaining our clientele, as far as that goes, and just focusing on being a great company, and the rest should follow. Probably need to invest a little bit more in like the marketing side. But again, that's, time and getting there. And
how did you guys make that transition into vineyard management?
We've always done our own vineyard management for our own vineyards, but we only had like 3 or 4 guys. And then we were outsourcing to like a farm labor company. And with as our vineyards have grown and as we've wanted more control and consistency in the farming for us, we really wanted to know that our labor was, leafing right or picking, we were getting the best picking versus trying to schedule around somebody else's when their crews had time. So that's kind of how we transitioned. We had a client who said, hey, we really need this too, on the construction side. So we said, well, it's going to behoove both of us. And we actually started small. We started with 1 crew of 20 guys, and we're now up to 6 to 7 crews at about 120. So,
ooh, wow.
It's been a big kind of a fast trajectory growth.
That's a pretty good growth track there.
Yeah. So that was kind of when you were talking about growing too fast, we might've grown a little too fast, but, we've always farmed. So it wasn't anything new. The biggest hurdle was the paperwork, learning it's a very regulated industry. So all the paperwork that comes with it, but hey, it was easy for my brother because that was my side of it. So, learning just all the paperwork aspect of it and the human resources part. But the farming we already knew. So it's just, the infrastructure.
Yeah, that's a big HR task.
Yeah.
Do you have an HR department or is that all you two?
That is myself. And I have 2 other employees who help. One who is amazing. She really communicates with the staff. And I think that's just how you talk about customers, just having that relationship. It's also with staffing, is respect and knowing what motivates your staff, what your staff needs from you, and being support for their job just as well as them providing the service for your company.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'd like to shift back 1 second because you mentioned so much good stuff, but I want to jump back to the winery, and I want to jump back to, you're talking about the millennials, and we spend a whole lot of time talking about the millennials. What about the Gen Zs? Are you seeing a difference in the younger mid-20s coming into your tasting room?
We do. We actually started with our establishment club because we were seeing people coming like still in college or just out of college, and they really like wine, but maybe they don't have the budget to buy to be like your premier club where they're getting a case every 2 months. So we started our establishment club, which starts with just a few bottles, gives them some good discounts. And then the idea is that you grow with them. So as they grow in life, our wine, we have the club for their next stage in life as well. But we do see that people wanting to connect more. They want the story. So I think that's the transition, is instead of the flashy labels and the image, they want something with a soul and the grit and to really see the authenticity. And that's kind of the switch we're seeing in the market, I feel like.
Soul, the grit, and the authenticity. I think that's been a general theme with like the younger people coming in. They want to see something that's authentic,
real, substantial. Yeah.
And then they also want to have fun too. So you got the cornhole, you got the bocce ball that you wouldn't have seen in 2000.
No, you do. And we do cater to a little bit different. We're not the winery that's all polished, and those experiences are fun. Don't get me wrong. That's why I always tell people, go do a few of those Napa experiences and round it out with us, bring your picnic and relax and just have fun.
I love you can bring a picnic there. That's fantastic. There's not
many left. Yeah.
No, that's great. Talking about the heavy construction. So do you how is marketing that different than the vineyard management?
It's a completely different thing because you're dealing with other vineyard management companies where they may have a client and they need something that is more engineered or more involved than what a vineyard management company can do, because it's not necessarily just ag based. Now we're getting into really heavy equipment. We're getting into steep hillsides or removing large amounts of rock. We do a lot of that on referral. We do work with like some of the city and county agencies. We have expanded with the different fires and things, looking at what our customers and our clients need and issues within the industry. So this last year, we expanded into our air curtain burner box, which is a big container that takes green waste, which is something that happens with vineyards. You create green waste and you have to do something with it. You can chip it, you can open burn it, but that's bringing smoke back into the atmosphere. So this is a very controlled way of doing it. And it basically, for people looking at a regenerative farming aspect, it's a zero carbon footprint because there's no smoke and you're getting a 97% reduction in mass. So the vines you rip out, they go in there, they burn down to biochar or ash, whichever way you're going with the project. We've also started doing that for some of the parks and recs and RCD and open space, where they're either clearing damaged land from the fires or they're creating fire defensible area space. So it's more of an industry. You're pretty much marketing within your industry areas. Or we do have a Facebook page. I don't know how much traffic that honestly generates, but it's a lot of word of mouth and people seeing our developments and seeing our projects and working with them and with the engineers and the county. So, because a lot of it's permitted. So
that's really cool.
It's fun. It's a whole different aspect that not everybody gets to see on a day-to-day basis.
Well, especially because the defensible space is such a huge thing these days. My fiance works in forestry. So, wow. Yeah, that's just, God, if more people knew about that.
Yeah, just creating, especially when you have large projects or even vineyards. My husband works for CAL FIRE, and like seeing what they went through trying to defend during the fires and knowing that, hey, we are a vineyard. And even though the vines themselves don't burn, giving more just cleared and defensible space to have access to areas and just as much of that as you can give it gives you a better chance.
Yeah. And nowadays you can get fined if you don't have it. So that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, when the properties here were actually not, we were lucky. We survived the fires. We had minimal damage to one of our properties, but we also had dozers clearing not only our property, but our neighbor's property, because again, we're a small community. We had water trucks going up and down the valley.
I remember seeing all the things all of your guys' crews were doing on social media. It was pretty cool. It was
a lot, but that's what, and Napa as a whole did that. It wasn't just us. There was lots of construction companies and vineyard management companies out there pulling their own too. And we all work together. And I think that's in general, the one thing that sets the wine industry apart is people really do rally around their own and come to help and support each other. Even though we're all technically competitors, we all still want to support each other to succeed.
That's what I love most about the wine industry, that sense of camaraderie and community, where it's a friendly competition. But
there we go. That's a good.
Everyone's there to help each other, is from what I've seen more often than not. Now it's August. We're recording this show in mid-August right now.
Yeah.
We talked in the pre-show, it may hit 103, 108. And this isn't probably going to air until the fall.
Okay.
But how's harvest going right now?
With this heat spike, we went from possibly picking whites a week from now to we might be picking Friday.
Oh, wow.
So that is the benefit of having a vineyard management company that we have, is we can move our pick dates accordingly, within balance, because we still have to balance all our clients' needs and everything. But we will most likely be picking either Friday or Monday for Sauvignon Blanc. So,
and are you guys hand picking everything?
At our vineyard, we are, yes. So we do have clients who don't handpick, but the majority of our Napa Valley clients we handpick.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, Diana, as we wrap this down, is there anything we haven't talked about that you'd like to bring up?
I don't know. I think we hit a lot of stuff. I mean, events, I guess maybe that's one thing for the business.
I was going to bring that up, actually. So
we do a lot of fun events. And I think sometimes we scaled back on events for a while because it's a lot of work, especially when you're small, trying to put it all together. But I found that we do different types. So we just had this last Sunday, we had our first horseback riding vineyard tour. So you get to kind of see the winery and the perspective of the winery the way it used to be.
That sounds fantastic. Do you have to bring your own horse, or
no? We have horses that come in. So.
Oh my gosh, I wish I would have known about this.
Yeah. And then we do wine and music Sundays throughout the summer, and barbecues. So my brother and I barbecued this last time. We did tri-tip sandwiches, some fun sides, had music, and there's an entrance fee. Wine club members, I think it wasn't very much for wine club members. They get to come and be their home away from home, and bring their friends. And then we'll have our larger parties. We have our Boots to Barrels, which is our prime rib, and our friends who have a country western band fly out from Texas and Colorado. And we have a big concert and release some of our reds for September, kind of a pre-harvest is kind of going, kind of fun event. And then in October, we'll have our harvest paella party this year. So we kind of change it up every year. And come winter, we clear out the entire cellar and do our crab feed. So that one we sell out usually way in advance, but it's a lot of a one-of-a-kind thing. The entire cellar comes out. I do about 2,000 tea lights down there all along the walls. We have port and chocolate, and it's just a lot of fun. So I think that's the highlight. I mean, who doesn't like to have a party and throw a party? So
that sounds fantastic. That sounds,
and you get to interact with your club members and people who maybe haven't heard about you before. And it gives your club members kind of a place to mingle with each other as well.
Do you get a lot of locals from the area coming to these parties too?
We get a lot of locals who stop in. We also have a lot of people who travel for them. Like Boots to Barrels will have a big influx of people from Texas, Florida, and Colorado coming in. Wine club members who they like to come in for the events. So they come in and they'll do a dinner here or a tasting here. Then we'll actually go out to some of our favorite wineries with them within the valley and do tastings as well. So again, like that, supporting everybody, introduce them to some of our favorite wineries that we have here too. So
that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, where can people learn more about Pope Valley Winery and all your operations?
We definitely have a great website. So you can always, it's just popevalleywinery.com. Check us out there. There's a lot about our history on there. You can download all about it. We also have a number of Instagram, TikTok. We even got into TikTok. That's the newest thing. That's a whole nother realm of social media.
Oh, that's a whole conversation right there.
I know. So we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have a couple of them. We have our PV Winery Instagram and our Facebook page. We also have some fun stuff called like Behind the Cellar Door from our tasting room. So check out tasting room at Pope Valley Winery if you want like a unique aspect from some of our staff. And then we have PV Soil to Sip, and that is mine. And that kind of highlights across the different companies. So I will post on there some of our just construction stuff, some of our winery stuff, so everybody can kind of see the integration and the different aspects to it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That sounds fantastic. I got to check that one out. That was PV what?
PVW Soil to Sip.
Soil to Sip. Okay.
Yeah, because we do everything from the soil to the first sip of wine. So.
Oh, I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna check that out. Well, Diana, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You have a great day and
thank you.
Good luck on your harvest on Friday.
Oh, thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Legends Behind the Craft podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.